give a synopsis of the case.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just kind of do that. There's a nice
Sure.
short little 3-sentence thing here, which I think is just going to be easy. It says basically the case describes the not dilemma.
Got that English accent.
There we go. Yeah, of founder and CEO Aaron Kennedy as he seeks to grow the company from within while balancing the pressure of other competitors trying to push their way into the fast casual foods category. As they grow, they face the difficult decisions on how to meet the pace of the budding company while maintaining their culture. Any other key issues or things?
No, I think that wraps it up really well.
Okay, great. The next thing asks us to go on and select some questions that we'll kind of use our time best. So it's asking us for one thing, because it talks about how there's other dining places closing in towards the end of the
Mm-hmm.
case. It talks about how there's these other places and to be first to market or best to market. But it's asking us to say, what's the fast casual segment?
Fast casual segment. I think you could put Zupas and almost any fast food place in there. Wendy's and Pizza Hut and Little Caesars. I think those would be fast and casual, because you could do other things that are fast but not so casual, like the Roof in Salt Lake City. It's very fancy, but it's also fast in that it's kind of a buffet setting, so you serve yourself.
Yep. Yeah. And I think, good thing for it is, they do serve your food relatively quickly, but I think they're a little more appealing than a fast food restaurant in that, the food may be better or the service
Yeah, that's a good point.
a little higher price. Looks like Marissa's here.
Hi.
Hi,
Hello.
how are you?
Sorry I'm late. I almost forgot.
All right. Yep, I've been later before than that, so no worries.
It happens. It's totally fine.
So, Marissa, we just kind of got started
Okay.
a few minutes ago. We talked about how the case talks about Noodles and Company and the dilemma they face is they're trying to grow the company, but there's also the competitors there in the fast casual dining category. So
Okay.
they're trying to grow but maintain their culture. So we're just talking about some of the challenges.
Okay.
So, what specific challenges do you feel are facing Noodles and Company right now?
Well, I think the problem is they go franchise and grow with more other owners. The culture is possible that it can be lost, because
Yeah.
each owner is gonna get their own or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I think with time the culture is gonna get lost, and I think that's the main thing for them. Is just to keep the way they're doing business and the way they treat the customers and the employees, and I think they should keep that.
I definitely agree. What about you, Nate?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. That's probably the biggest thing. Anytime you have a small company that's super successful, it's been my experience that small companies, they have a better ability to focus on customer service. But as they start growing, they lose that ability and they start becoming something that's ruled by individual managers, and you get this huge pool of understanding or interpretations of what the customer service is.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's the big thing. I was feeling too that when it comes to the company growing, it's hard to grow big, and you're gonna have success and you're gonna want to grow big, but it's hard to grow big and be as successful, maintain those good special things you were doing before.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, you definitely have to create new ways of doing business, and especially they're talking about maybe going international. That's a whole different ball game when it
oh
comes to
yeah.
culture and standards. I almost think that you would have to do your own set of cultures and standards for each country that you get in, and possibly even regions inside of the country.
Yeah.
No, I completely agree. So yeah, the whole international thing I think is question right now until they figure out how they can meet their growth goals
Yeah.
domestically first.
Yeah, I think international. I don't think they should be thinking about international right now. They've got some other fairly big issues that they need to handle first.
Yeah. So with all of that, a few things that are brought up in the case that we could maybe look at. It talks about how before he was working full time while developing the new business.
Hmm.
Um, what do you guys feel about that? I'm doing the online degree. I'm an entrepreneurial management major, or emphasis with a business major.
Hmm.
Yeah, me too.
Is that you as well, Nate? Or
I'm doing university studies with a business management emphasis.
okay, yeah. So maybe more so for Marissa and myself. Maybe for you, I don't know if you want to be an entrepreneur or not. Um,
Thought about it, but I've worked for a few, and I've realized how hard it is, and I don't
mhm.
know. Just have my own opinions about it.
Yeah. But
Mhm.
we're in a unique situation too. I think here being online students, where we have, I pretty sure we all have lives outside of school that we're not just students.
Yeah.
Um, what all do you guys have on your plates right now besides school?
The other big hitter is work. Obvious, working a 40-hour week,
What
and then
what are you?
family, and then so for me it's four major things: church, school, work, and family. Not in that order, but then trying to find time for my own personal hobby to keep myself well grounded and stable.
Oh yeah, I definitely feel you there. What do you do for work, Nathan?
I work as a lead generation specialist for a
Okay.
medical company. It sounds a lot more fancy than it is. I literally just call hospitals, schools, EMS companies, and see if they need any equipment.
Okay, all right. What about you, Marissa? What's on your plate?
Well, right now I'm not working. That's what I quit work last
Yeah.
year, just to do full time and finish the degree. So I'm going full time, taking 4 classes right now, 4 classes a semester. Then if I have 5 kids, I'm very busy at home.
Yes. Oh, that's gotta be very busy. I
Yeah, for sure.
don't wanna.
So with church, I think church, family, and school. That's my main three things.
Mhm.
And usually I have so many kids, I have to give rides to everybody. Just take them here, take them
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
pick them up, and it's a lot of a lot of work. Um, but I'm trying. Even without working, I'm so busy. I don't even have time for my hobbies or for stuff that I like to do.
Oh man.
There's never enough time.
No.
Yep. Well, me myself, I work 40 hours a week. I kind of do a little bit similar thing to you, Nathan, actually. I work at a call center.
Hmm.
I'm a sales coach, nothing too fancy, but I'm basically the team leader for the shift leader there at the call center. So I have my shifts that I'm kind of in charge of, and I run them, and I come home and I do school. And married. Been married for just 2 years, and I have my hobbies too, and I try to do those, but they're time consuming and expensive, so
Hmm.
it doesn't always
Totally.
happen. So we're all really busy and we take on a lot. The question posed really is working full time as an employee while developing a new business a good idea or a bad idea?
Man,
Um,
I personally think it's a really bad idea because developing a business, it's so complex and it's so detailed that you need to put all of your focus in there because starting a business, you're problem solving 90% of the time. You're figuring out things and people are bringing you problems, expecting you to fix them quickly and efficiently. And I don't think that you can do that while you're working a full-time job.
okay.
Yeah, well, my husband is trying to do that, and it's really hard, working full time. But that's the scary part. You can't quit because you have, like he had to support the family.
Hmm.
And so he can't quit, but he wanna after work he comes and just try to do a couple hours on his business. But it's really hard because I need him at home when he's at home. Oh, can you help me with this? Can you? And so it's really hard. He doesn't have a lot of time for the family.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but it's scary that he can quit the job because of the business, because it's not doing enough money,
Yep. No,
So yeah.
my dad actually, he's kind of a entrepreneur, and he works full time. He works for Case, like the tractor company, like the red tractors. He definitely likes John Deere more, but just the people in the area who run the business there where he's at, they just aren't the best to their people. So he kind of switched teams a little bit. He's been doing all right, but he also, on top of working his 40-hour week, he actually has 3 businesses that he owns and runs.
Whoa, that's hard.
Yep, we have a corn maze in Blackfoot, actually, just an hour south of Rexburg. We do a corn maze that just finished up. We have a produce farm that we do, and then he has some corn roasters that we cater out and do like elote, the corn with like the cheese and stuff on it.
Oh.
So he does all that, and they kind of tie in together, which is nice, but sometimes we're running in so many different directions. So it's definitely very crazy, and I can honestly say, though, that he hasn't done as good of a job as maybe he could have. There's things he could do much better if he weren't working full time. There's problems that happen, and fires that he can't fight and put out that could become worse because of it. So, I think that's something there. But at the same time, the case talks about the challenge of him having to work a job making $2,000 monthly salary while he got the business going. And I think that's where a lot of people probably are faced with that dilemma. Okay, work in school because I got to make things work, or I got to work a job while I start my business because I need the money to live on, or I need the capital.
That's true.
Yeah.
But I think he made it work though, because after a while he quit working, right? And then he started business.
Yep.
So
Yeah, eventually he quit his job just so he could take care of the business because it was too much, and he probably wasn't making what he was. They were probably just scraping the barrel, but it ended up working. It just how much are you willing to sacrifice, give up, and do for it? So, do you think that was a good move or a bad move on his part?
I think it was too risky though for him, because he was taking, after he quit, he was taking that $2,000 from the loan, I think, just to survive during the time that he was working. And I think that's really risky to live on alone,
Mm-hmm.
until the business start working. So I don't know if I could do that.
It's risky both ways, yeah.
For sure.
Yep. Any other thoughts on that topic?
No.
No, I will let you know what happened after that.
Yeah.
What they decided to do.
All right. Okay. Now, let's see. It's talking next. I think there's a few other topics we can talk about. We don't have to talk about all of them. But I think one thing that's definitely important was their corporate culture. They have the mantra, every bowl, every customer, every time. They had the great reward program for their employees where they'd let them they give them money and pay out if they hit certain records or did the best at something. Do you think they're able to maintain their culture through what they're doing?
I think they got a pretty good chance, actually. I think that it could be tweaked a little bit to become even better. I just think that it might mean something if they developed a team that would go around to the stores and be able to and give the employees the opportunity to speak their mind, and then they take it back to corporate. I worked for a company once where they did that every 6 months. There was a team that came around, and they just followed up. They just checked up on the store and all the different aspects of the business, and it was really nice because you knew they were really close to the CEO, and so things that you said didn't just fall on deaf ears. Like, you knew that it had the better possibility of getting somewhere and things were getting fixed.
Okay, yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I like the the way they were doing when they open a new store, they give the manager that they was already trained, that they took him there, and then they hire another new manager there.
Hmm.
So when they open the new store, they already have a manager knowing everything, how to run the store. And so that's the way that to keep the culture in all of them.
Yeah, and that's a really good point that they did whatever they had to keep their culture alive.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That's something important to do. So, all right. And then we talked a little bit about this before as well. What do you guys think about their strategy? Is it better to be first to market or best to market?
I think best.
Yeah, I think best. There is benefit to being first because then the longer you're in business, the more street credibility you have and the more pomp and circumstance. But when you have the best product, people know about it and they tell their friends, and word of mouth is the best advertising.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I've always emphasized, with my teams at work, they may see other teams putting up bigger numbers up front, but it's like, hey, the sales appointments, they're not really that good of a quality. We've, this semester we kind of had a slow start in terms of quantity with our team, where the other shifts were putting up, basically 50% more than us. But when it came down to the sales, our sales were double what theirs were, individual and dollar amount. So I think definitely quality is more important, and I've kind of seen that and learned that just mainly recently, that you should always go for quality first, and then you can go for quantity once you have that down.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay. Let's see. Um, let's see. And then I guess there's just a few things we can talk about. Kind of different stages. We'll talk a little bit about their early results, how they were building momentum, kind of their mantra, every guest, every bowl, any time, and then what their growth strategy should be for the future. So, anyone want to talk about the early results, how they just summarize for us how they were?
Mm.
I think it'd be hard to summarize them without looking.
Back at the case.
Yeah.
Yep. Early on, it's kind of starting how they started out with the 2 stores, Do you guys just remember kind of how those went initially?
I remember in 1996 they had a bunch of bad reviews, and that really kind of crippled them for that year. And that's when in 1997 they really focused on trying to make the better product and trying to change their storefront in the way that it looked and felt.
Yep. Isn't that when they went to Chicago and tried at the different noodles at like 7
Right.
restaurants?
Yeah.
Sat down, reevaluated everything,
Mm-hmm.
which I think was probably critical for them. I think
Yeah.
isn't only like 1 in 10 restaurants actually makes it or whatever.
Yeah, I think it's really low. It's not very favorable statistics.
No, it's not. So they really had the odds against them, but I think they did whatever they had to kind of make it work. They had a great idea to start out with. So
The problem was that the location also, that they have problems where
hmm
the good other good stores around it, they move out, and then I think the location was bad there.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. What do you think really helped them kind of build momentum? Turn the corner, kind of.
Well, like like you said, I think just going to Chicago and sorting things out and reprioritizing, doing a complete 180 makeover, um, that's really good. And I think the other major thing that helped them is that it wasn't just a change for right now. It was a change for the future. It was a
hmm
change with the future in mind. So when you've, let's say they've had a customer that's had a bad experience, they come back and now they're having a great experience. They need to keep having great experiences to mend that initial bad experience.
Yep. That's great. Any other things? There's a couple other things that I'm kind of thinking of is that I caught. I don't know if you guys noticed them. Any other ideas, Marissa?
No.
I think one of them was, of Aaron Kennedy just quitting his full-time job, just giving all of his focus to the business.
Mm.
I think, that kind of distraction that he did have, that eliminating that, while it was risky, it was necessary for it to be successful.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
Another one is they talked about how they actually got new managers that were higher caliber. They probably had to pay them more, but they're definitely the right managers with better experience, people who know how to make things happen with the restaurant business.
And that's definitely a huge factor because they're kind of like the mom and pop of the store. They kind of they listen to everybody's problems. They help them sort things out. They are a friend, and so it's just it's worth paying them more if you have to.
Yep. Yeah. So I think that's really important. I think we'll just go right to the growth strategy for the future. What do you guys think's the best? Well, I guess we'll first talk about their growth strategy. That they're at what was it, 38 stores, and no, 38 stores that are wanting to grow to 300. Was it?
Yeah,
Or
that's
58?
huge.
58 to 300. I think it was at least 5 times or so. So it's like 58 stores to grow to 300 within 3 years. Um, so that's their plan. What do you guys feel is the best way to go forward?
I think that just to keep doing what they were doing, a little slower, but open their own stores, no franchising.
So just a natural, organic growth.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think becoming 5 times as large in 3 years is very possible doing it that way?
No, I think that's too high.
It's
But I
really
think
high, yeah.
slower, but more secure. I think it will be better. I don't know.
There is definitely a big amount of security involved there, where they have security and complete control over the business, over the processes and the culture. I agree that that does factor that in. What was your thoughts, Nate?
I was thinking the same. I think that it's just a little steep for. I mean, it's a very healthy projection for people who are really wanting to get in there and build the business as quickly as possible.
Hmm.
But I think that it kind of teeters on the edge of, is it possible? Is it possible to grow that fast and keep the culture and maintain the culture that you've already built and that everybody's valuable? I think that it's a little bit too steep of a projection if you're trying to, if your focus is trying to maintain the culture versus just building big and getting money.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. My company actually has some pretty big growth goals in place. They brought on a new co-VP to kind of help with that. This individual, he's grown, a couple sales businesses and turned around and sold them for millions. I mean, he does not ever have to work a day in his life again, but they brought him on. I think they're paying him pretty good money, but it's something for him to do too, I think, and he knows the people, in our company
Mm-hmm.
and likes them. So, but I can definitely see how big growth can be very stressful, and there are some hard things that just kind of have to be done. You cut out processes that aren't really generating revenue. You cut out those ones that aren't doing too well. So you close up a couple offices, and it's been a little difficult, I think, for a lot of people, and even just to see that it's been difficult. But I think in the end, it's making us more lean, making sure everyone's okay. Am I doing, it's making everyone do their job better too. So
Yeah,
without being too much.
that's good.
So you guys want to know what happened?
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
All right. So what they ended up doing is they actually ended up offering some franchising. That was my idea that I had posted. My solutions were that they offer franchising opportunities. It's really the only way for them to reach those huge goals. They're not going to solely franchise. I think keeping as much of the company as they can, but being very selective when they offer those franchises. So I put that they should definitely make sure they know who's buying the franchises. They should reject people who don't fit the build and the culture. They could go back to the original investors who have already put tons of money up for it and say, hey, if you guys want a franchise, we think you're a good fit for it. We're going to give you this opportunity, And so they do that. But I think my third suggestion, though, was to make sure that in the franchise agreement there are certain stipulations in place that still ties those franchises in with Noodles and Company. That way they're still a part of the huge corporate culture, even though they're independently owned franchises. They can still, receive the same incentives, have the same programs and standards in order that way they maintain that control. So those are my suggestions. So I'll just a little bit show you a little bit about that, what they did. In 2002, it's saying they had 37 locations. In 2003, they had 65, and 142 by 2007.
Mm-hmm.
So they started offering franchises in, let's see, it says they started offering the article I'm reading in 2003. And by 2006, they had 22 franchises, or they had 22 at the end of 2006, 31 in 2007. And they every year, they just grew to 37, 43. They stayed at 43 for 2009 and 2010, then 45, then 51, then 62. And I think what really enabled them to do that was the way it talked about in the case of how if someone's putting up the money for the franchise, that pretty much covers the full expense of the restaurant and stuff. And then there's generating extra revenue. So they have this extra revenue stream without the expenses. So they're getting a percentage back, the stuff too. So I think that in combination with their aggressive growth, strategy, and with their, going out and getting loans from the banks and stuff, still continuing to do that, is what allowed them to do that and grow so big to where today, let's see, their website, Noodles and Company's website, says in 2014 they opened up their 400th location.
Wow.
So,
Wow, yeah.
have you guys ever been to Noodles and Company?
No.
No, I haven't.
I haven't either. My wife has, both in Salt Lake and Idaho Falls. She says it's pretty good. Idaho Falls is just here close to Rexburg. I don't know if you guys know or not.
Mm-hmm.
But it's pretty good. But they have a really good thing on their website. If you look at careers, their careers tab, and talks about what the careers are. It's really cool the way it outlines the different careers, and gives a career path that I think is pretty cool the way it incorporates their culture, and you see that. So.
Yeah, you definitely see that. They're upfront showing, hey, you're worth something to us. We're gonna invest in you. So here's your career path. That's cool.
Yeah, definitely. So that's pretty much it. Do you guys have any questions? Any things you want to discuss or add?
No. So my question is when you do the franchising, they can put in the contract everything that they wanna keep the culture and everything they like. So,
I don't know that that's something that's necessarily done much. That was my suggestion of something they could do. I know there's got to be a franchising agreement. I don't know how detailed those technically or historically have been.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know either. So that was my concern. I don't know.
It'd be good if they could put what they wanted, because then, yeah, they can totally control what they want to keep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if it's in the contract, the people buying in, they obviously know what's going on too, and I think they'll realize the value in that if that's a possibility. So.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep. All right. Well, I'm going to end the broadcast.
Awesome.